with Alyssa.
Hi guys.
We're here talking about that evacuation order that came from Pinellas County. So we want to explain it to you. We want to talk about what that means. What they ordered is that everyone living in mobile homes or level A must evacuate by 6 a.m. tomorrow. That's what we know so far.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about what that means, and we want to talk about why they made this decision.
So we're going to bring in our meteorologists. We're going to bring in Bobby Deskins and Grant Gilmore so that they can explain to you guys a little bit of what you need to know in the next few days.
Right. So we're here now. We're going to bring Bobby in through kind of the picture-in-picture chat here because, it has to do with, a decision process, but also kind of the weather threats that we're looking at here and potential threats that we could see here in the Bay Area, specifically Manatee and Pinellas County. So we're trying to get Bobby connected right now. But I think the main thing that we want to focus on and really pass along to you to kind of bring in a sense of calm is nothing has changed in the forecast track. There hasn't been some sudden change in where we think Irma is going to go. The forecast is still the same than what we've been talking about all morning, everything that we've been posting online all day long too. So what we're looking at, and I'm going to turn this around so we can show you the forecast graphic, guys. So, pardon, you know how this goes. Let's start off with the forecast first. So just so everybody knows, here is the latest forecast from the National Hurricane Center. So you can see there's Tampa right there. So Tampa and Pinellas County, Tampa Bay area, all on the west side of that forecast track. So we're still looking at everything being, generally to the east. There's Bobby. All right. Hey, Bobby.
Guys.
Hey, so we're just going over the track now. I think the most important thing that we need to talk about, Bobby, if you can do this as well, is there's been no change in the forecast. I mean, everything that we've been saying for the last 24 hours or so essentially is the same.
Absolutely. What this is going to boil down to is Pinellas County has made a decision because they are technically just inside the cone, right? On the western edge of the cone. And they use a particular model, it's called the slosh model. And what that is it's an estimate of what would a storm, like see what Grant's showing you right there? So the storm is forecasted to be about a Category 3, maybe a Category 4 storm coming up Saturday night through Sunday, right? So the slosh model allows them to say, okay, here's just some guidance. A typical storm of that size moving at that speed coming northward would give us X amount of feet of storm surge. Okay. And so technically, because we are in that cone on the western side, and we're talking maybe 15 miles to the west of it is the end of the cone, 15 miles off of Pinellas County. But technically, because we're in there, they've decided to go ahead and call for the evacuation, because what happens is it takes about 2 days to evacuate several levels of Pinellas County. Right now, they're only calling for level A evacuations, and they're calling for folks that live in mobile homes. Now, weather-wise, if what you see right there happens, that would mean that the center of the storm would stay over on the East Coast, maybe even off the East Coast. And on our side of the state, we would have northeast to northwest winds. They would change as the storm goes by during the day on Sunday. That is not a major storm surge maker for us. And in fact, the levels in the Bay would likely be lower than normal, except for maybe the Southern Bay, Palmetto area, maybe up to maybe just a little northeast of there, not much. But if we were forecasting right now for what we think that red line is going to do, where the Hurricane Center thinks right now it may go, that's what we would do, and we'd say there's no issue. But the problem is it takes 2 days to do an evacuation. And if we're in that cone, Pinellas County kind of ran up against the clock. And so,
Bobby, I've kind of got some arrows on this map just to kind of illustrate what you're talking about here, so everyone at home can kind of see how if the storm, like you said, is to the east, like you're saying, it's a northerly wind or a north and maybe briefly a northwesterly wind.
Yeah. And most likely the strongest would be, it could be the northwest, because as you were mentioning, how storms, when they come on land and they start to weaken a little bit, they actually spread their wind field out. So tropical storm force winds would spread out a little bit more. And now we're talking Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening that would get more of a northwest wind. But That's Western Pasco. You know, I got to see somebody here from Tarpon Springs on. Yes, water levels would be high, but maybe 1 to 3 feet would be my guess, an estimate for the backside with the north to northwest wind. The model that they used is assuming that it's coming up the Gulf of Mexico and not the eastern part of the state, because that model, worst case
and that's
scenario,
because they've got to consider that option, right?
that's the bottom line. They had to. I mean, I'll be honest. You know, you guys know when we heard about this, I said, "What?" There are a lot of people going, "What?" But what happens is the commissioners of Pinellas County had a meeting this morning. They decided this. They were briefed by the National Weather Service. They're being briefed by the National Weather Service right now, as a matter of fact. And so they make their own decision, but they take information from the Weather Service. And I think it's going to come out and be like, well, this is probably the right decision. A lot of us here now have been a little bit relieved because that track goes to the east, and we're thinking, oh, we may dodge a bullet. They don't necessarily have the luxury of betting on that. They just have to get the people out that they think they have to get out by level A.
Now, Bobby, here, just so you know, we've got this pulled up from PinellasCounty.org, the criteria that they kind of look at for when they issue the evacuation for level A.
Right.
So, you know, that's kind of what they're looking at right now, is when you've got anyone that's in that range from basically sea surface up to 11 feet.
Right. That's level A. And that's level A all the way around Pinellas County.
Right.
So the Gulf beaches and even the television station, because we're right there in level A. Now, I think the television station will have less water around it because the wind will be blowing it out. And that's if it takes the easterly track.
Bobby, what about in terms, you mentioned, you know, the mobile homes as well. Mobile homes, all mobile homes in level A?
Yes, absolutely. All mobile homes in, I think it's Pinellas County. I don't know if it's mobile.
Right, that's what I meant. I'm sorry, Pinellas County. That's what I meant. Yep.
Yeah. It's mobile homes for the entire county,
right,
which is actually a lot. It may not seem like it, but that's a lot. And it's all of level A. The mobile homes are for the wind. The level A is for the water. And so there you have it. Now, here's the thing. We could debate this all day. It's not going to change anything. It may be the right decision. It is the decision that they made. We've got plenty of time. The weather's not going downhill until late Saturday. We're going to keep you updated all the way through this. You have friends. If you have your hurricane plan, you remember us talking about having a hurricane plan? Well, now's the time to put that into motion. Schools will be closed. Hillsboro's already closed. Is Pinellas closed, guys? You guys know if Pinellas is closed today? I know Hillsboro is closed today and tomorrow.
I haven't seen that yet, ladies.
I believe Pinellas did close today.
Yeah, Ashley says they did close, yeah.
So it makes it a little bit easier to get your things and get out of the way. And remember, if you live in level A and you are evacuating, we don't want you going hundreds of miles. We want you going tens of miles. Don't go to Orlando. The weather will be worse in Orlando if the storm stays over on the East Coast. Find a friend, a family you can stay with. Have fun with it. You know what I mean? It's no sense in sitting around being anxiety ridden about it. It is what it is. We don't think it's going to be terrible at this point. We have to live with the Pinellas County decision and have some patience because, you know, I'm in Northwest Hillsboro. And as soon as I get off of here, guys, I'm coming into the station, and I expect to see a lot of traffic come across to Howard Franklin and those roads this afternoon and this evening. Now, it does not go into effect until tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Is that correct?
That's a good point, Bobby, to make sure everyone knows that it's not like you've got to get out immediately. You know, you kind of have some time to get your affairs together, you know, to finish up those preps, and then, you know, by 6 o'clock, that's when it begins.
Yeah. Do the normal things around the house, things that might blow around. Yeah, I've been cleaning off the today. Kind of late for me because we have to be in work all the time, but I got it done. You know, get some gas in the car. I'm telling you, what we're seeing here, guys, the Pinellas County decision, I think, is going to end up being a technical one. And they're going to brief us, by the way. I've just talked to some folks that said the counties will be briefing the media about why they made the decision. So we'll pass that along, that information to you. In fact, we've got it already on the way out there. When we had folks out there this morning while it was being
And I spoke to them on the phone, Bobby, and they said that they were discussing this to see what it really meant and the information that they wanted to put out to the public. I asked about shelters. They said they weren't ready to tell the public yet what shelters were available to them. So it seems like they put out the decision, but they're still trying to work out the details. So to be clear, Bobby, this is a decision that you believe they decided to err on the side of caution.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So one of the things people are asking us in the comments is whether they should leave. So if people are in Zone A, what is your best advice for them?
It's a mandatory evacuation. And I know, we're not everybody's going to leave because of it. But there is still a possibility that this comes a West Coast storm. It's leaning to the other way, and that's great news, but I'm just saying they had to go by the books. So, yeah, it's a mandatory evacuation. I'm not going to say otherwise. I can't do that. These decisions are not made lightly. Let's put it that way, because this puts people on the road. And we really don't want people on the road. We want to move the minimal amount of people that you have to move. Run from the water, which is level A, hide from the winds, because everybody's going to get wind. This thing's 400 miles wide. The state's 130 right here in the central part of the state. Everybody's going to get wind. So it's just get out of the way of the water. Again, I don't think right now it's going to be a big water situation. They just kind of had to do it because it was the mathematics. We're in the cone. You run the model for that. It tells you it's going to be this. That is a scenario right now. It's just not as likely right now.
And like you said, Bobby, as a matter of timing, you want people to start moving that way in case that it comes down to that. You don't have everyone trying to live at the same time.
Yeah. One of the things that happens when the storm comes by, and is a pretty good possibility for us in this situation, will be late Saturday. We're likely to get tropical storm force winds, sustained tropical storm force winds by about 8 p.m. Saturday. It's actually 7 p.m. because those graphics guys are out at Atlantic Standard Time at this point. But sunset Saturday evening, the winds are going to really start to increase. And it's not terrible wind, but it could be 40 miles and higher, which will shut down the bridges. And that's the timing issue that Pinellas has run into. They need 48 hours before that happens. Mm-hmm. So they're actually going to end up with less than that if they start at 6 a.m. on Friday. But they're only asking for level A evacuations anyways. We're not talking to anybody in.
So, Bobby, with these, talking about the wind speed, talking about tropical storm force winds, and how, regardless of where Irma goes, we're probably still, everybody gets some kind of winds. In fact, even Pinellas, St. Pete, Tampa could very well even, if not likely, see hurricane force winds as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a possibility. You're absolutely right, Grant. I mean, if it's 130 over on the East Coast, certainly could be 80 here, which is probably
and you brought up, the width from east to west of the state being around 150 miles or so, give or take. Right now, hurricane force winds extend out 50 miles from the center of the storm. But like we were talking about, that storm is going to get bigger once it starts to encounter, the Florida Peninsula. So we could see those hurricane force winds extend out 100, maybe 150 miles from the center of the storm.
Yeah. The one thing we're watching now that we were talking about is that somewhat westerly wind higher in the atmosphere.
Yep.
There's a bit of shear on it from the west, which makes...
Bobby, you're kind of cutting out. I don't know if there's something on your end, cord or something.
Got me now? Can you hear me?
You're very soft. You're very low.
All right.
You got some important stuff to say.
How about now?
We hear it.
Is that better?
A little bit better, yeah.
Okay. We were talking about that chance for just a little bit of westerly wind on the west side of the storm as it moves northward. It's part of what's trying to push it to our east. And so it may not be that perfect concentric circle by the time it's moving up the east coast, which means the highest winds altogether on this are going to be out over the Atlantic Ocean and right along the beaches of the east coast, if that happens.
Yeah, and the storm, whenever the storm begins to encounter land, it always does some odd things. It doesn't always do what you might expect it to do sometimes. So it's really one of those things where, come game time, as we get into Saturday and, kind of get under the gun, we're really going to have to be watching it closely to see how all this everything evolve.
That's right. So you want to go over some tips real fast for people that may be evacuating from level A?
Yeah, you ladies want to help with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead, Bobby.
You want to get your documents together. You've got, again, there's no imminent weather until late Saturday, so this is not a super rush. It starts tomorrow morning anyways. Take your cell phone, walk around the house, and videotape everything. They do say videotape the serial numbers on your TVs, and I wouldn't do that, but they say to do it. But walk around and talk while you're doing it. Here's my TV. It's a Samsung, whatever. This is this thing. We bought this. It's a family heirloom, whatever. And that's for insurance purposes. Okay. Get all your documents, your insurance papers, birth certificates, birth certificates, what I was trying to say, passports, all that kind of important information. That stuff is really good if you have a go box or just even put it in a bucket. Who knows? Just put it all together in one place and just throw that in the car. And so that you know that it's there, and so that you can take it wherever you need to go. Charge your phones, because if you're going to go somewhere, you're not exactly sure where that's going to go or how that's going to go. You can always do it in the car. If the car's running, obviously, you can charge your phones there. Pack your go kit, which would be your food, your non-perishable food, a cooler if you have it, that kind of stuff. More than anything right now is you're trying to find a place to go. So look for shelters. We're not telling people to leave level A in Pinellas County, which is the beaches of the Gulf Coast beaches, and go to Hillsborough County. We're not saying that. We're saying find your nearest shelter, and it will be right down the street from many locations. So this doesn't have to be a mass exodus of Pinellas County. This is get up out of level A, which is the very minimal level anyways. So find your local shelters. That's one of the reasons why schools are closed today, because they need to set up the shelters that are generally in the schools that are around the area. So if you can get to pinellascounty.org, you can find that. And I think we have that stuff on our website as well, too, WTSP.com.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, Bobby, I got off the phone with someone with the county who said they were getting ready to make those shelters public. They do have a list on their website, but they have not decided which ones of those they're going to have available for this specific hurricane. So we're going to continue to keep you updated with a list of the shelters that will be available this time.
And that will be on WTSP.com?
Yeah, we'll have it up there as soon as we get it.
Perfect. And I guess we'll do a list here on Facebook as well too. And you're so right, because they don't open all of them for each storm. It's whatever the need is for that particular storm. So They'll have to figure that out. And it also has to deal with their staffing issues as well too. I think Sarasota County has 22 shelters in that one area along the coast, and so they don't staff all of those. Now, if you're watching from Manatee County, it's a voluntary evacuation for level A. So obviously it's the difference from mandatory and voluntary. But if you have a place to go, or if you do want to go to a shelter, if you feel like your roof is not the best, even if you have a nice house, but you feel like there's some issues with your roof, then maybe you want to go ahead and look for a shelter. Now, remember, not all shelters take pets. Hopefully you've registered with a shelter that does take pets. You can get crates. I think you can bring crates. They may have to stay outside, or I don't think that's right, but there is something about crates that they may, in some instances, let you bring them with a crate.
And we have on WTSP.com, there are 4 shelters open in Manatee, 3 of which are pet friendly. So,
good.
So if you need to know that, we've got the information. There are 2 in Bradenton and 1 in Palmetto that are pet friendly. Cool,
great. At this point, especially in Pinellas County, we will need to use those shelters again, but you don't have to go far. And the good news is if you are going to evacuate, you're not going to be in Lakeland wondering how your house is doing when the storm goes by. You can be right down the road, in your local community for the most part, just a little bit on higher ground. So that's the preferable thing. That keeps more people off the roads. It's a little bit safer, and it just helps everybody out a little bit. And the plan is set. They made this decision to do this now, but the plans of where you go and what shelters are open, that's all been predetermined. And, which ones are going to open, they're determining now, but where the shelters are, that's all been predetermined.
Gotcha. Bobby, thank you so much for the information. We're going to let you go take a shower so that you can get ready and come back in here.
Let's change the oil.
More information.
All right, guys.
We really appreciate it. We're going to continue to talk to people and answer some questions. We're going to take down notes so that when you come in, we can continue to communicate with our viewers.
Great, guys. All right, everybody just relax, take your time, go with the flow. This is not going to be terrible. We just have to kind of go with this evacuation at this point. And our team and our weather team will keep you updated with all the forecasts, and hopefully it continues to be pretty good. Right, Grant?
Yeah. The latest update from the Hurricane Center coming down at 2 o'clock. So when you're heading in, we're going to get that in. The next track update comes in at 5, right? So we'll see that 5 o'clock update, new track between the 5 o'clock this morning and the 11 o'clock this morning. Not a big shift in that track. The only thing, honestly, is the cone got a little smaller for us, which means because we're farther along in time, the error in those forecasts are less, so confidence growing.
Yep, good. And that's good. And you know what? What will happen here in perhaps the next 12 hours, Pinellas County may be out at the cone.
Right.
Because of that error. So it could be by 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, we're not even in the cone in Pinellas County.
Yeah, and in fact, I know you got to go, so maybe we can let you go and we can explain that error.
Yeah,
folks.
I saw a graphic that was great.
We've got that graphic there because it's it's kind of academic, with the way they create these cones. But the most important thing is when you're outside of that cone, you're on this side of statistics of not being hit by the storm or not the center of the storm moving over you.
It's all fun statistics. People love statistics.
Oh gosh, the cold sweats.
It's a 50% chance for rain. We do it every day during the summer.
There you go.
We apologize. But that's
Bobby,
right.
thank you. We need you in here, man. So we'll let you get going.
Yeah, I'll relieve you in just a bit, Grant.
All right, buddy. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
So a lot of you guys are asking questions. Thank you for staying with us. So Grant, I want to ask. People have been asking about Polk County and Pasco County.
Sure. So specifically, what are they asking about? It just what their effects are going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing I'll say, guys. We want to make sure we can answer your questions as specifically as possible, so you get the answer that you're looking for. So when you ask these questions, say where in Polk County. Polk County is a big county.
Exactly.
And say exactly what you're looking for. Are you concerned about winds? Are you concerned about rainfall? Again, we want to make sure that we answer your questions so you're getting the answers that you need to make the decisions that you need to make. So I guess I'll do just a broad brush for Polk County. They didn't do any specifics, right?
I'm going to go through. So let's start with a broad brush,
Okay.
and then if you guys can let us know exactly where you are.
Right. So Polk County, and the timing for these are going to vary from north to south. So the winds will begin to increase from south to north as the storm moves up from the south and east. So we will likely in Polk County begin to see tropical storm force winds arrive through the afternoon on Saturday. So it's just Thursday now. So we've got a little time until we start to feel those tropical storm force winds. I would say plan on midday Saturday for that. Tropical storm force winds. Our wind speeds are around 40 miles per hour, technically 39 and above, but just for intent purposes, 40 miles per hour. Just to compare, a severe thunderstorm, when a severe thunderstorm warning is issued, that's 58 miles per hour or stronger. So this is less than a severe thunderstorm. So we get a lot of those storms in the summertime here. So just know that it's less than that. But hurricane force winds could begin to arrive as we go through Saturday night into Sunday morning. So that's kind of the timing for that there.
So Diane is asking specifically about Tarpon Springs.
Okay.
So Diane, we have on our website, we have in the links to the comments here, and then Pinellas County has the exact evacuation zone. So it's not necessarily per city, it's certain areas that are going to be in the zone.
Right.
So you can check there if you want to leave your address. We'll plug it in for you. But can you tell her, when she should expect to see some effects?
So Tarpon Springs a little farther north, the extreme northwestern corner of Pinellas County. So Tarpon Springs could begin to see those tropical storm force winds arriving maybe a little later in the day on Saturday. So again, we're talking Saturday when we start to feel those tropical storm force winds. The palm trees will start to blow. Now, if you've never been in tropical storm force winds conditions before, it can be a little concerning because it's pretty consistent. It can come up and it can just blow for a while. There's not a huge concern with that. It can blow some things around, but it typically doesn't really cause damage. So just know that tropical storm force winds, it gets a little windy. It's gale force winds. So, but that'll begin to occur maybe earlier in the day on Saturday, midday-ish, we'll say around lunchtime. And then we could see those hurricane force winds arriving as we go into Sunday.
So Kathy, we just want to clear something up. Kathy is asking again about this evacuation. What commissioners have said and what we can tell you is that it's for level A and mobile homes. And to our understanding, that is all level A. There's Kathy says there's some confusion, but level A and mobile homes.
And in full transparency, like you said, a little confusion with this. We have reporters, we have people that are working with them, with Pinellas County right now to make sure everything is understood exactly what it is. But it's not in effect until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Exactly.
So if you live in a level A, probably a good idea to start getting in the idea that you're going to have to get out. That's the way it sounds right now. That's the way we're reporting on it, and then we're going to see that in effect at 6 o'clock, but more information to come.
Yeah, and we will keep you updated again on shelters and on exactly what the evacuation means and if that changes in terms of an expansion or anything. So Wilma is asking about Brandon, and then we have several people asking about Tampa.
Okay, you know what I'm going to do? So I'm going to turn the camera around. I'm going to show a forecast graphic, and I'm going to point out some cities, and find your city, because again, we've got a lot of cities here in the area, and we want everyone to know, exactly when we think this stuff is going to really come through. So let's go over to our weather computer here, so you guys get an inside look right at our weather computer. Thank you. All right, so let's go to that graphic here. So the graphic that I'm going to show you, now this is just a forecast model. This is one of the models that we use to give us an idea of when conditions will be either at tropical storm. So there's your legend right there. Those blues and the lighter blues are stronger tropical storm force winds. So as we go through time, so we're all through Friday evening. Hasn't even hit Miami yet. But as we go into Saturday morning, Saturday midday, you see Miami fully into those tropical storm force winds. These are the hurricane force winds right here, right around the center of the storm. So the timestamp there around lunchtime, and that's when you head down into Hardy, DeSoto, and Sarasota, Manatee County. We could begin to see those tropical storm force winds begin to roll in. So those would be stronger than 40 miles per hour. And then the storm's going to continue to move. This is the worst of it right here. And unfortunately for Miami and the southeast coast of Florida, it's going to be rough going through Sunday morning, really Saturday night into Sunday morning. But here in the Tampa Bay area, tropical storm force winds, we could start to see those hurricane force winds arrive through late Sunday morning. We'll say mid to late Sunday morning. And then it's going to continue. So the strongest of the winds are going to be closer to the center of the storm. So that looks like it arrives through Sunday afternoon. It could be a little windy here for a while as we head through Sunday. Again, this isn't going to be every single place. You know how hurricanes, they become fragmented once they interact with land. This is kind of a general broad brush here with rough timing here. So kind of don't let it scare you that it's going to be everywhere. It's going to be dealing with it for a long period of time. But then as we head into Sunday night, early Monday morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, so we're after midnight now, the conditions begin to improve. The eye of the storm's passing to the north, and it looks like we start to see our winds calm down. Probably by sunrise, Monday morning, we might be out of those tropical storm force winds. So that's the way it looks right now. And so I can zoom in a little closer here for when we're kind of in the beginning stages of it all. And we'll find your cities. Let's see. So tropical storm force winds all arriving, Tampa, St. Pete around Sunday early in the morning, if not Saturday night. And then, we've got those hurricane force winds hitting Miami, South Florida all overnight Saturday into Sunday. So that's the rough timing of it all as we head through the weekend. But again, it's not going to be until the weekend, guys. It's not going to be until we can wrap all of our prep today, a little bit more tomorrow, and then we'll start to see those conditions go downhill on Saturday.
So Grant, a couple of things that is that yes, there was an evacuation order issued by Pinellas County that goes into effect at 6 a.m. tomorrow.
Right.
But we have time. You can take a deep breath. You can start your preparations, and just know that what the conclusion that we have come to is that the county has decided to err on the side of caution. You don't have to leave Pinellas County.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to keep you updated on the shelters that will be available to you, where you can go to a safe place if you live in a mobile home, if you live in a level A.
Right.
And one thing I want to note is a number of you asked about specific cities. If we don't answer that now, Ashley Beatty is going to be up. We're going to be on with you guys all day. So we will get to your specific city. So just stay with us. Ashley's going to sign on as soon as we sign off, basically.
Okay, so we're going to start up a new live here in seconds. Okay,
so
guys.
We'll get to that.
All right, well, don't go away from Facebook. We've got much more information coming your way. A new update coming from the Hurricane Center at 2 o'clock. I don't know what time it is right now, 1:50. So the new update just came out, I'm being told. So we've got to get over to Ashley. So we're going to cut this down, and Ashley's going to be firing up here momentarily. Is that right, Ashley?
Correct.
Correct.
Thank you for joining us.
All good, guys.